Ancient earth pigments come in just about every color on the color wheel. My favorites, the reds and oranges, are pretty common. There it is, Berber red.
Yes.
But the holy grail, the blues and greens, are far more rare. Before jumping on a plane, we typically know exactly where we're going, who we're staying with, and where the pigment can be found. This time, however, we're taking a huge risk. Mary and I love what we do. The deep-seated drive to discover ancient pigments, to meet, live with, and learn from indigenous cultures who continue to use these pigments is our absolute passion. But we're not wealthy. We travel as cheaply as possible. When we're not living with a tribe, we stay in the cheapest hotels, riads, and hostels we can find. It's a good thing we like each other, because this is going to be cozy. This is the glamorous side of pigment hunting.
See, this is the side that he didn't sell me on before when he came out of the bathroom. Just be like, let's travel the world and not have a house and collect pigments.
Here is our doorless restroom. That's cool, whatever. But here is our view from the bed. Not optimal. Apparently, even on the other side of the world, duct tape fixes everything. It's far from luxurious, but we love it. It does, however, mean that we don't have a surplus of money, and that we're always one big mistake away from failure. So taking a risk on a destination that may end in failure could be catastrophic. This trip to Lagos, Portugal, in some ways flies in the face of all of that. It's a high-end, expensive, luxury beach resort destination. It has no indigenous tribes or people groups to live with or learn from. So why the hell are we doing it? Why would we go there? Well, we've been able to find scattered reports and a couple not great pictures that indicate that the beach cliffs have a vein of green earth running through them. And of all the colors we've been able to collect around the world, a true earth green has eluded us. So we're here in southern Portugal. Fingers crossed. So step one in being able to make this trip work for us is to find a city as close to Lagos as possible, but without the Lagos price tag. A little over an hour away, we found the coastal town of Faro, which, with its ancient walls and Roman ruins, was much more our vibe anyway. Also a beautiful church built in 1719 with a chapel added to it 100 years later. And you will not believe what this chapel is made out of. But more on that in a minute. As I mentioned before, 100 years after this church was built, a small chapel was added onto it. This chapel is one of the most spectacular and unsettling things we've come across in our travels, with an ominous inscription above the door that translates to something like "Stop and consider that this is what you will become." The gravity of this is not lost on us, that this was an actual person with an actual life, and they were monks, and the history of that religion is problematic. But these men were devoted. They committed their entire lives to this belief system, and now they're immortalized here in the walls. It's unbelievable. In lieu of bricks, the Bone Chapel of Faro was created, as the name would suggest, from the skulls and bones of dead monks that served in the church, died, and were later exhumed to make room for Pharaoh's crowding cemeteries. You can see the different, I don't know, kind of anatomy of some of the skulls. You can see obviously a very big, kind of broad forehead on that one. Not so much on the ones on either side of it. This is a much bigger skull than the others. So this section of the Bone Chapel is outdoors, so a lot of it has been, I don't know, kind of pillaged, where none of the skulls remain. There's not a single skull, and a lot of the femurs and other bones have been removed as well. We jumped on a bus early in the morning and made our way out to Lagos. The time had come to see if our green pigment gamble would pay off. Changing hands throughout history, Lagos, Portugal has fallen under the rule of the Carthaginians, the Romans, the Visigoths, the Byzantines, the Moors, and finally the Portuguese. With its close proximity to the north coast of Africa, it became the principal port in what would tragically become known as the Slave Coast. The beach was beautiful, with blankets of fibrous seaweed, tiny fossils, and gorgeous tide pools where the ocean had worn the coastal rock into a pockmarked moonscape. We started to find some indicators of green mineral in the rock and clay, but they were far too gray to ever read as green on canvas. I was beginning to lose hope, but then we saw it. The pigment we had come all this way for. The vein wasn't as thick as I had expected, and it was tucked back out of plain view, but there it was, a deep earth sage green. So we've got a really, really intense green stripe right here. We've got red under it, we've got white, yellow, orange. Down here is a really intense kind of maroon red. Up here we have purple and yellow and orange. This is a really amazing spot for color, for pigment. Absolutely gorgeous. So there's not going to be a lot that needs to be sifted out with this. Pretty much all of it can be crushed down to powder. We're not dealing with a bunch of big rocks in it or anything. The paintings I created are not only infused with the green pigment we collected from the sea cliffs of southern Portugal, but our time within the ancient walls of Faro, and the macabre experience of the Bone Chapel. Those paintings are available on my website.